Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, welcome to checking out the YouTube version of Cinematic Autopsy. We've noticed a lot of you are watching and have not subscribed.
Yeah.
So,
Please subscribe.
Yeah, before we begin, it would be wonderful if you guys could click on that little link right there. Right, see where I'm pointing right there, and you'll notice that if you scroll down, you'll see subscribe. So subscribe to us, CL Squared Productions. You'll be able to see our videos, stuff.
We have lots of cool
our
content for
trailers.
you guys. You'll know everything that we're up to in the film world, whether we're talking about it or doing it.
Exactly. So let's give you 5 seconds to subscribe. All right, everyone. We'll see you guys soon. Hey everyone! Hi, welcome.
Hi, welcome.
Totally not the third take of us doing this.
We're doing fine.
Yes. For those of you wondering, by the way, but when we get this out of the way, for those of you wondering why I look horribly deformed this week, I have some sort of allergic reaction going on, and my eye is swelling up right here. So I don't know what it is, and maybe it's being allergic to shitty films. Who knows?
I think maybe you just need an eye patch. Also, I still have walking pneumonia, and I moved, and everything's a fucking nightmare. But we're all still here, and happy to have you back. And we are CL Squared Productions.
Yes, yes, and we want to welcome you to our cinematic autopsy podcast discussing Robocop. Robocop, which is me doing that voice is more amusing than this film. This is I had told you before that I'd never actually watched it all the way through, that I had turned it off like a half hour.
This is the remake. This is like if you tuned in last time. Said we'd be doing the 2014 remake, so this is that.
Yes, because the original is a fucking classic. The original is one of my favorite fucking movies from the 80s. And this is, I wrote you and I told you that I distinctly think this is actually worse than The Wicker Man.
See, I love The Wicker Man. So
no,
Nicholas.
I'm saying a worse remake than The Wicker Man.
Wow. Yes, I do remember that. I literally wrote Robocop 2014 garbage as the headline in my notes.
Yeah, no, it completely is. This movie is fucking shit. And
hey, I think that. Oh, also that's Chelsea Lincoln. I'm Chelsea LeSage. In case you don't know us, but if you, I don't know why you would stumble upon this channel if you didn't know who we are. But so welcome or welcome back.
Well, we're international superstars, Chelsea. So that's
Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ.
Don't even start with that because I have a huge obsession with that play. So.
I know. Hell, it was my first musical ever.
Yeah, well, hell, you remember when fucking like a week before the pandemic hit, when we were shooting Demon Hunter, and which the season that will eventually come out next year. And between takes, we were fucking singing King Herod's song and the when Jesus meets Pilate. Yes.
I mean, I feel like now I'm just okay. We're not going to get into that. We have a lot to talk about.
Yes.
I'm going to bring it up in the most inappropriate time possible, though. I'm going to sing both of those throughout the entire thing.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Overjoyed to meet you face to face. Healing cripples, raising from dead, and now I understand your God. At least that's what you said. So you are the Christ. Jesus Christ. Yeah, anyway. Prove to me that you're no fool. Walk across my swimming pool. You do that for me, then. Anyway. Let's stop at that point in the lyrics.
Yes. We're on the same page.
Yeah.
We're on the same page.
It just occurred to me what's coming up, and I'm like, oh, that's going to sound weird. So
So sad.
Yeah, but yes, so we are in the process of doing that, and with tomorrow being October, we are we have I just want to skip ahead to the next film, but I guess we'll cover this one for this episode.
Yeah, I feel like I hated it less than Charles did. I had to like rewatch it twice because I also hated it. I also want to preface it.
I was going to ask, do you hate yourself?
Rewatch it. Well, clearly. No, I wanted to also say that I have house guests who are out getting groceries right now, so that's why I'm doing it in my bedroom instead of my office.
Yeah.
So my dogs will bark. Just a heads up, but they are welcomed to bark as they are dogs.
So
yes.
So anyway, I will say, since we were a little bit inebriated on some adult beverages last time, this is a very then that anyone who watched the last one would think that you have some serious issues. You were not like that's just you being normal, and that you have some real problems.
I don't drink. I also, but like, to be honest, yes, there's alcohol in here, but I'm drinking out of a Mets cup. I do not support the Mets.
Yeah.
Okay, that is the God honest truth.
Yeah, well, she has to say that, or like the other massholes will literally lynch her.
No, I don't. I was there for a concert, and they were force feeding us alcohol with Mets cups. I'm a victim. I'm currently drinking cranberry juice right now, not because I have a UTI. He has a UTI.
Yeah. Does that even work on men? Does that even help men?
Yes.
It does? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I've been...
Why? The internet told me so.
I've been trying to purposely not drink sugar as much as I can.
Cranberry juice has all the sugar.
Yeah, but no, not as much as like iced tea or something like that.
That's true.
So
I'm juicing. You're on a juice cleanse.
I don't think I could do that. Like, when I see people taking like cucumbers and shit and putting them in the little juicer, I'm like, I don't.
Where are they putting them? In little juicers?
Yeah, little juicers. I don't even know. I'm not even gonna comment on that, because I am a child of God.
Respect.
And,
are you?
Yes.
It's a great Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yes. But
oh my God, what did I just watch? I watched that Twin Flame fucking docuseries.
I don't know what that is.
Oh my God, Twin Flames is like, I'm not gonna get into it because I don't want to support this like cult of people. But watch the like Escaping Twin Flames like 3-part docuseries on Netflix. It's fucked up because like the dude is just like, basically when they're not making, or when they want to escape as many like tax when they want to get out of paying as many taxes as possible, they make their cult into a religious thing, when really it's just all about finding your twin flame who's like the same, like you have the same soul in another person and you split the souls, right? Which is a fairly common thing, and he just destroyed it. And then when they were trying to save as much tax money as possible, the dude went and was like, oh, I look like Jesus. Jesus was a Middle Eastern man, but the depiction of how he's white in modern day culture, it's because I'm the second coming of Christ. That's why they made him white, because they were waiting for me. Watch it.
Yeah, that doesn't sound shifty at all.
Yeah. Anyway, it was more entertaining than Robocop 2014.
Yeah, so since we were a little bit inebriated last time, and since this is a boring as shit movie, I've decided to pay proper respect to, like, for example, I realize at no point, at literally none, there is zero mentions of the name Kirkwood Smith. And we called him Red Foreman the entire...
That's his name.
The entire time.
Oopsie.
So what I'm gonna do at any point that at any point that this gets boring, or we get to a boring part, I'm just going to give fun facts and interesting stories from the original Robocop.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So the whole movie.
Yes, pretty much. So
no, and again, I hated it like less than Charles did. I mean, we got to hear Samuel L. Jackson say "motherfucker."
I mean, he says that in every film, though.
We got to hear it.
I mean, even PG-13 movie like Avengers Infinity War, he starts saying it even if they cut him off.
Oh, I know. They cut him off. No, I know.
Yeah.
I was just thrilled.
So let's start with Samuel L. Jackson doing vocal exercises over the MGM Lion logo.
Yes, which I thought was clever. Charles is gonna have nothing to say about Eddie.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's about as clever as the movie gets, I guess.
I thought that was really funny. I was like, because I grew up doing those exercises with the Linklater progression at Shakespeare comedy, so it just was like, I was like, I was like, someone's doing the Linklater progression warm up over the MGM logo. Oh, it's Samuel L. Jackson. That's so cool. And then nothing got better.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is Samuel L. Jackson must have just been miserable shooting this because he's in a green screen the whole time. He interacts with no other actors.
Right.
Like, and I know Ian McKellen almost had a breakdown on The Hobbit because of that.
Yeah.
Because it can't be good for your psyche, and it can't be good as an actor to have no one to like interact with and no other energy to feed off of, and just to be you don't have a set, you don't have anything. You're just you in a big green fucking space. And
I feel like being a newscaster is the only the only acceptable way that would work. And he made it work, but it must have a lot of it, especially towards the end, spoiler alert, when he gets really frustrated and is like everything's built up to the point where he's still trying to hide everything and support everything. Like a lot of his frustration had to have come through in that, with the fact that he's just completely sequestered from everything. I don't know. I think, he did his job.
I mean, no one's going to say Samuel Jackson has only ever had one bad performance in any film he's ever done. I'm sorry, 3 films. The fucking prequel trilogy of Star Wars. Because George Lucas has no idea how to... That's how you know George Lucas doesn't know how to direct actors. When you get a bad performance out of Samuel L. Jackson, that's when you know that the director has no idea how people like interact with things. He was so busy like focusing on like fucking Jar Jar Binks and shit that the actual like
my favorite character,
Natalie Portman. It's George Lucas's favorite cat. He still doubles down on it, and like when they asked him about it.
I know, that's why I said it.
Yeah, but Natalie.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, Natalie Portman actually talks about how she couldn't get work after the Star Wars trilogy because people thought she was a bad actress. So that's the only time I've ever seen Samuel L. Jackson do a bad performance, and it's
to directors, aspiring directors, is be an actor's director. You want to take acting classes while you're learning to direct, and directing classes while you're learning to act. You always want to be learning, and I think that you should learn both at the same time. Okay, you want to be an actor's director, you should not be doing it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I come from being an actor, like, and. I like to think that I'm actually pretty good with actors because of that.
Same. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think I would be very good if I hadn't actually acted.
Yeah, exactly. We're good directors. Yeah.
Yay! But,
so Samuel L. Jackson talks.
Yeah, so he's like, what if he told you that even the worst neighborhood in America could be safe without risking one single law enforcement officer? He's Pat Novak, and this is the Novak element. And I guess he's supposed to be some sort of like, I mean, from the time of the film, I would think Bill O'Reilly. Those of you kids out there might think of like a Tucker Carlson or something like that.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah, and honestly, this part bored the fuck out. This goes on for 15 fucking minutes. This part, by the way,
it does. You're right.
Because they show like the Middle East, and there's ED 209s. There's new ones called EM 208s, and it's
that's where we learn the like colored patrols, and that's important. Well, apparently only the red patrols are important. The red dots, that's
his film. That's his film crew. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's just supposed to be a film crew.
And as long as they keep their bracelets on, the drones won't kill them.
That's that.
And it's just, I don't know, like, one of the things I thought was kind of great was having Ed 209 be like this new emerging technology and stuff. And here they've got like hundreds of them.
Yeah. And the opening is severely depressing. You learn that like what America's trying to do is not actually right at all, which happens.
Yeah, I can't imagine America occupying any other country. And
yeah, it's severely depressing.
Yeah, and it's this whole, but that's the thing, is this whole fucking thing in the Middle East that never gets referenced ever again.
Yeah, and we get the reporter back once.
Yeah, and literally the only thing that you can take away from this is, wow, there's a lot of Ed 209s. That's right. The only thing that the first 15 minutes of the movie with fucking terrorist attacks and explosions and like it's bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. Yeah. And I'm
and it goes on for 15 minutes.
Yeah, like, and Novak
you can have a cold open like that. You can have a cold open like that, but like you have to reference it back in some way.
Yeah, and Novak goes on. The Pentagon is going to cut the feed to Tehran, and Novak goes on about how fundamental the robots to foreign policy. But why don't we have it in America? Why is America so robophobic? So now,
you know what, Charles? I know people who like this movie.
Yeah, well, those people shouldn't be allowed to be anywhere. Those people shouldn't be allowed to like go to the cinema. Like if they go to a movie, someone should just go and reach forward and rip the ticket. Out of their hands. Yeah. and then Udo Kier should just come by and punch them in the face and say, this is for your crimes against cinema.
This is for your crimes against cinema, and then laser beam them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, he just punches them. Udo Kier doesn't have fucking laser beams. Like he's
not yet.
He's a fucking like German actor who was
not
in
yet.
Like,
I know who he is. He could have them. He's just hiding them.
Well, I feel that this is a good time to start talking about the original 80s Robocop. Did you know that original director Paul Verhoeven looked at the first page of the script and rejected it as awful?
Huh.
Yeah, and he actually had to have it sent to him 3 times until his wife read it, and she's the one who actually told him it's really good.
Did we talk about this off air?
Yes.
Oh, damn it. We fucked up.
Yeah. And, well, that's the thing. And then Paul Verhoeven, he eventually admitted that the satire of it didn't make sense to him because he wasn't fluent in English at the time. He had only made 1 English film. So,
and, a lot of things don't read the way they should when they're like on the page, like Shakespeare, how it's meant to be seen, not read. Like,
I actually, what's really funny is I actually had a discussion with my old, like, we're talking 2007, like keyboard player yesterday. And she's from Russia. And we got into a whole discussion about how she doesn't like Shakespeare because she can't really understand it because English is not her first language.
Mm-hmm.
And I pointed out, and I also think English, number one, for her, it seemed like English, but if you put the words in different places, which made it very confusing to her.
Right.
But it also is the fact of how people, and you and I have had this discussion before about how people put it on this pedestal that I think really does it a disservice. Because it is brilliant work, but they put it on a pedestal that makes it in a way that people don't think they can relate to it.
Right, we have had this discussion. Yeah. I was about to be like, you're wrong!
Yeah, but no, like, and like, I realized that all I had to do was just quote Titus Andronicus to her. And she was like, oh my God, it has shit like this in there, where I was like, fool, thou hast undone our mother. No, I hath done thy mother. And
all the dirty jokes, I mean, the thousands and thousands of words and insult that man coined anyway.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that, like, they really, I really think that so many people who try to make it a big classy thing miss the heart of it and the fucking, how really, he wasn't writing for fucking, like the fucking You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, he was writing for Queen Elizabeth, but only when she caught wind of him, you know?
Yeah.
He's just, what he does that she also loved, what Queen Elizabeth loved it, is that he wrote about the human soul and human nature and just how whimsical and disgusting and funny it is. And people miss that. Yeah. That's why you should see it. Yeah. And that's why it makes sense that like things didn't like the original Robocop, that things didn't like get to the director on the page until the third draft, especially with the language barrier. That makes sense. What
they eventually did was they gave him they actually gave him comic books, like the Judge Dredd comic book, hoping that would kind of get him to realize the tone of it. But he wanted to go and actually do a third. They did a third draft based on his notes.
Yeah.
Where they made it a lot more serious. They took out the satire, and they actually added a romance between Murphy and Lewis. And the funny thing was, they did that draft. Paul Verhoeven read it and was like, no, my ideas were bad. Go back to the second draft. And that's what they shot.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I kind of love that he was able to admit that his suggestions are all bad suggestions.
That's so funny. I already have a feeling that this podcast is going to be like things we missed when we were covering the original Robocop.
I mean, you know. So let's go back. Yeah. Let's go back to the other one.
I wound up like a poem that's really, really, really bad, so I'm not going to read it. But like when I started watching this and already didn't like it, I started writing a poem about how I'm doing this for Charles and only for Charles. And
so we meet Michael Keaton, who is playing Raymond Sellers. I'm glad I have it written down because I would not have remembered it. And in my notes, I do the opposite of what we did with Kurtwood Smith. I literally just wrote Michael Keaton for like all my notes.
Yeah, no, I remembered Sellers and Dreyfuss, even though I don't remember the actor's name who played Dreyfuss, because I remember that coming up on the newscast. You know, but I was like, oh, that's Michael Keaton.
I wonder if Sellers and Dreyfuss are some sort of like attempt at referencing the Pink Panther. Because Peter Sellers played Inspector Clouseau, and Chief Inspector Dreyfuss was his like rival. Yeah. So I wonder if that was some sort of reference, because this movie thinks it's so much smarter than it is.
See, this movie had a couple of moments where I think made fun of itself, where it knew it was that bad, but I don't think it would have happened if it weren't for the actors. I don't think it was in the script. You know what I mean? But and if you were to ask me off the top of my head, I would have no idea. Hopefully we'll get there. But no, I didn't even pick up on that. I haven't seen the Pink Panther since my youth.
I hadn't thought of it. I was talking to Donald Farmer, the Underground director, yesterday, and he was bringing up the Pink Panther. So it's like fresh in my mind.
That's really cool. No, that probably makes sense.
Yeah, but so right after I wrote Senator Dreyfuss has a bill that prevents drones on human soil. I wrote, God, I am bored already.
I wrote in capital letters, I hate this.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of talking, and that's all boring, and no one really gives a shit here. I'll tell you, remember how violently we were assaulted by the Robocop logo in the original 1980s?
Yes.
This is the gentlest logo.
It's like, Robocop.
Yeah, like this comes in a fucking like cloud of like fucking like pixie dust. I will give them. You know what?
You know what it is? Hold on. It's a metaphor for Tinkerbell. It's like Tinkerbell. If you don't believe in her, she'll like. If you don't clap and believe in her, like she'll ascend into dust or like explode into dust. That was this because no one believes in it.
Yes. I will. You know what? I realize this is going to be the one compliment I give them. I like that they use the old Robocop theme during the intro.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, because which you and I were singing quite a lot of in the last episode.
Do not even fucking dare. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so they're showing Detroit. We're now behind Murphy, who is now played by Joel Kinnaman. Six in the morgue, Lewis in the hospital. They have a lead on Anton, and it's all these details that I mean. Do you want to talk about this? Because there's so many fucking details that I don't care about.
I wrote there's people in there that can't hear shit. It's not personal, even though I don't like you as a person. That's what I have. I literally I'm gonna write the most small amount of notes as possible. And they're in an office with these people who are important later on, and they say if you hadn't went off something with your partner would still be standing.
If you hadn't gone off the reservation, your partner would still be standing.
Reservation. I should have you gotta teach me how on my MacBook how to turn like autocorrect on my notes app, because I have reverberation. Which I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
I mean, how many times have I actually like said I don't know what I wrote there because it's a weird jumble of letters. So I don't know how to do it either.
Nowhere near as many times as I've done. Yeah, but nowhere near as many times as I have.
Yeah. So Murphy won't.
Yeah.
Go on.
Jack Lewis, right? Has been isn't it Jack Lewis or no? Who's Jack Lewis? Who's Jack? I wrote Jack.
Oh, they just say Lewis. They just say Lewis for now.
Oh, Lewis.
Yeah.
Oh, I had the subtitles on. That's what it is.
Okay.
So Murphy's been doing street buys with him for guns. And he's like apparently doing shit that maybe he's not necessarily cleared to do. And he's talking to someone who says he can get him 2 crates of shit, and he's just like, I don't want dirty crates. And he kind of like pretends that the other dudes are cops.
Yeah. Which is actually a common undercover
makes sense
technique. Undercovers do that a lot.
The one thing I didn't get is when they're like in there going through records and stuff, they said the intake papers were blank. I think I missed that. Why was that? I don't remember. Like they wait, no, now I know. Now I know why the intake papers were blank.
Yeah. I will tell you, I wrote they are giving us so much plot that I absolutely do not care about.
We think so basically Murphy takes Lewis into a thing where we think Lewis is dead.
Yeah. So by the way, how we see a lot of gender swapping like the other way. From like turning male characters into female. I've never seen anyone take what I would say is an iconic 80s female character and let's make it a dude.
Yeah.
But that they did
worked.
that here. It did.
Yeah.
I mean,
it did. Rest in peace.
I just put I mean, he's a good actor, but this was not.
Wait, he's dead. Are we talking about Lewis?
Yes, the actor who plays Lewis in this is dead.
Yeah, yes, he's dead. Yeah. Rest in peace. It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
I wish I remembered his name right now. Don't fucking shit talk me, everyone. But he's amazing.
So I wrote, at this point, I put, is this movie over yet? Oh my God, how have only 12 minutes happened? It feels like we've been through this for an hour. I feel like this movie is everything the original Robocop was satirizing.
Yeah, pretty much. And again, like I said, I think that the actors like maybe had some leeway and like were able to improvise some things, or at least in like the tone in which they delivered lines.
Apparently, well, I mean, not according to what I've read on here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
but
I could be wrong, but like from what there were a lot of people talking about how great the script was in little making of videos I saw.
You know what? Again, the one thing I can give it is that the actors that they got did everything they could with the script they were given.
Yeah.
And the direction they were given. We're not talking shit about the actors. We're just talking shit about the movie.
This one of the big things about this movie is how many times I looked and I go, why is he in this? Oh my God, he's such a good actor. Why is he doing this material?
Yeah.
But at this, I wrote shooty happens for a lot. And then he jumps through a window and hides behind a dumpster that is obviously on fire and filled with this movie.
Wait, no, is this a time fuck? I don't know where I am in my notes right now. No, it's later on, but I wrote I wrote something about dumpster fire, like garbage bin, and how it should be this movie instead of what they were.
Yeah, I mean,
So mean.
yeah. So I guess since you said we think Lewis is dead, I'm at where Lewis won't wake up. Captain's telling him not to do anything about vetting it through her first.
Captain Karen Dean. Her name's Karen. I mean,
yeah. So, you know, we're up to okay. We go to Senate hearings. All right, let's skip to the Senate hearings.
we meet Senator Dreyfus.
Yeah.
And, Sellers, who's Michael Keaton, and Klein, who's I don't know the actress's name. And they're talking about how we need people who understand right from wrong and what they OD feel. No, Chelsea, no, that's not what what they feel. What?
I said they feel no anger, they feel no fatigue. It makes them ideal for law enforcement.
Ideal for law enforcement. Yes, I did. Yeah, I spelled that correctly. Yeah. Putting machines on the street will save countless lives, or American lives. And then they're asked, what do machines feel if one killed a child? And, you know, I feel like I can't imagine actually being in that scenario. But ultimately, like, even though they did the political thing and the capitalist thing and just went around and made excuses for it, they were asked again, oh, it would feel nothing. And that's the problem. And then we learned that 72% of Americans won't stand for robots pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So did you know that it took 6 to 8 months to find the person to play Alex Murphy in the original Robocop?
No.
They actually, they were going through like Arnold Schwarzenegger they talked to, Michael Ironside, Rutger Hauer, Tom Berenger, Amon DeSante, which would have been really weird because Amon DeSante has like a very thick accent. Keith Carradine. And Orion actually wanted them to pick Arnold Schwarzenegger because of how successful Terminator had been.
Well, that won't work. That can't work.
Well, that's the thing is they said that if you put him in the Robocop costume, he was going to look like the Michelin Man.
That's fucking hilarious.
So they and then other actors said no because they didn't want their face covered by a helmet for the movie.
Well, that also makes sense. I mean, what's the actor's name? Kinnaman?
Yeah, Joel Kinnaman.
Yeah, no, I'd never heard of him before.
He's been in a bunch of different things. He was in Suicide Squad.
I never saw that.
And he was in, oh my God, I can't remember it. It was some really depressing show that took place in Seattle that had to do with like child murder.
I mean, that's generally the norm.
It's on Netflix. I know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was great. He was great.
Yeah.
The actors did what they did.
Yeah. But let's get back to the better Robocop for a moment. So Peter Weller was hired because his chin was very good. Weller spent months working with a mime, developing a fluid movement style with a stiff ending while wearing an American football uniform to approximate the finished costume. And but what eventually happened was when they were like, I think several months into shooting when the costume was done, and then he couldn't move in it.
Oh.
Yeah, he couldn't move in it. He was fucking just miserable in it to the point where he was complaining so much they briefly fired him from the film.
Damn.
Yeah, they fired him until someone basically said, because the director was just tired of hearing him complain. And then finally, Paul Verhoeven they convinced him, Paul, it took us 18 months to make the costume specifically to fit him. Mm-hmm. You know, if we hire someone else, we're going to need another 18 months. And however much in the budget to go and build a new Robocop costume for whoever we cast. So they basically convinced Peter Weller to come back.
Oh my God. I wonder how long it took for this costume.
I don't know. It looks like a fucking motion capture suit. It's kind of shitty. It looks like it took him fucking 10 minutes to put on.
All 3 of them?
Yeah. You know. I mean, it's the same outfit. I mean, we haven't even gotten to the RoboCop house. I'll really go into how shitty that thing is when we get to it. But Also, Nancy Allen originally thought the film's title was terrible.
Oh.
Yeah, but
I believe anything she says.
Yeah, and Paul Verhoeven, she was known for having her long blonde hair like she had in Carrie and stuff, when she was Chris. But Verhoeven wanted to cut short so the character would not be sexualized because it was the '80s, and I guess no one can be attracted to a woman with short hair or something.
Yep, that doesn't exist. Gays did not exist, clearly.
You know, her hair was cut shorter 8 times before they finally got to the look that they wanted.
I feel like I would lose all of my other livelihood if someone decided to do that to me. So good for her.
Yeah, if they were just like, "Hey, Chelsea, keep cutting your hair." When you saw how short her hair is in the film,
yeah,
you know, and Alan, she actually went to police academy training for the role. And he encouraged her to basically act as masculine as she wanted and gain as much weight as she wanted, which she accomplished by quitting smoking. And Kirkwood Smith auditioned for both Clarence Boddicker and Dick Jones.
That's just Red Foreman.
Yeah, yeah. Michael, he was actually not. He was not their first choice. It was actually Michael Ironside, but Michael Ironside didn't want to.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, Michael Ironside turned it down because he said that he had done enough psychopath characters.
Sorry.
And
Stop
then
smoking, Chelsea.
And then, do you know who their second choice was? It wasn't Kirkwood Smith either. It was Robert Picardo.
No fucking way. Hey, that's crazy.
Yeah. And then finally, Ronnie Cox. He basically took the role because, it's so funny. We think of Ronnie Cox as playing all these bad guys in all these movies in like the 80s and 90s. He actually took this role because he had been typecast as nice characters and like dads and all these
it's like
characters.
On other sides of the pendulum, you got like one who's played too many psychopaths and one who's played too many nice people.
Yes. So he actually took the role because he was tired of playing nice guys in all of his movies.
That's so fucking funny. Because I was just going to comment. I was like, too many psychopaths playing that? No, every psychopath is different. Or like, but I understand. We're like playing too many nice dads. I get it.
Yeah, and the old man was actually based on the CEO of MCA. Because everyone
hilarious.
Yeah, because everyone considered him to be powerful and intimidating. And I found out the guy who says "I will buy that for $1" was actually television host Bixby Snyder, and it was written as an Americanized and more extreme version of Benny Hill.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and Howard Stern was offered a role, but he turned it down because he believed the idea was stupid, even though he later said that he liked the movie and wished he had done it.
Good.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear when Howard Stern has regret. That makes me happy. I love Howard Stern.
Mm-hmm.
But, we all have those moments of like, oh fuck, I wish I had, and then coming out and saying it. Moment of truth. Love it.
Yeah. So I guess we'll go back to the 2004 version. And
2004.
14. 14.
I don't even know where we are, so tell me so I can catch up.
They're talking about it's the corporate meeting, and they're talking about how.
Can we just skip ahead to the end?
I wish we could. We went through all of the posts. You know what the thing is? This is actually a harder film to talk about than The Postman, because this is so densely plotted with shit that isn't important.
I was typing 160 words a minute.
Yeah, like they put so much shit into this film, like as if it's high fucking art, and it's like it's fucking Robocop, dudes. Like we don't need an entire plot, like about like it's not even a subplot. It's like a big like I don't.
There is no B plot. There is no B plot to this movie. No.
Yeah.
No. All right, go ahead. I want to get this over with as soon as possible and keep hearing shit about the original one.
Yeah, so they want a product with a conscience. The American people want something that knows what it feels like to be human. So they're going to put a man
inside of a machine.
Yes.
Yes.
They talk about how
we're in the rehab ward, and you are because of your brain. Yes.
Yes. So now, it's your brain that makes you. And Gary Oldman is saying it, and I wrote, "Oh, Gary Oldman, why?"
It's funny because he's Dennett Norton, right? That's his name, and I always like when Gary Oldman was younger, like even in 2014, but like before that specifically, I was like, that's Ed Norton. So it made sense to me that Gary Oldman was playing fucking someone with the last name Norton. I was like, oh, I will remember that.
I've said this outside of the air, so you've heard it before, but I don't know how many people are out there are aware that Gary Oldman is actually younger than Gary Newman. So just let that percolate in your brain like a fish.
No one's gonna pay attention to anything else.
Like a fish in the percolator, because that's where what you put in the percolator.
In the percolator, you put fish in the no. No, Charles, bad.
Those of you who watch Twin Peaks are on the floor right now. Anyway, so we have a guy with a prosthetic hands, and he's playing guitar, and he's playing wonderfully.
But he can't play if he has emotion, we learn.
Yeah.
So that's a problem.
Seems like it would kind of defeat the purpose of being able to still
play
guitar.
Musician?
Yeah. I mean,
that scene hit me more than most scenes.
Really?
It did. Yeah, because it just wasn't like I was angry about the absurdity and how much I hated it, but also like felt so much about it. Like, as a musician, being able to do that again, like if I lost one of my hands or got nodes or something like that, like being able to do that again and then being able to actually physically do it again and then being told that I'm fucking up because the robotics don't respond to my emotions. I feel like that'd be the end all be all. I'd be absolutely devastated and cannot, so I felt like as far as a standalone scene goes, that scene hit me. I'm like, that should just be a short film in and of itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that pulls at the heartstrings of a lot of people.
Yeah. For me, as I said, as someone who was a musician who did have a disability that stopped me from playing for a while, and then came back to it, and it was this big thing, and then having to deal with like fucking people acting like children to the point where it just made me completely disillusioned for the whole industry. And that's when I went into film. I can definitely relate to that. But still, I don't know. I just feel like
it's not necessarily necessary.
Yeah, it's not only that, because it also doesn't really have much to do with, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. This film puts in so many fucking little details and things that we're supposed to remember that sometimes are never even referenced again. Or sometimes we learn the complete opposite is true, or something, but not in like a reveal, just in like oh, well, what about that detail I was supposed to remember earlier? And oh, don't worry about that.
Well, I think that ties back to the ending in a way where he has to desensitize his emotions, this guitar player. Yeah. Where the opposite has to happen. That's the only thing I got out of it, but I feel like it was overly explained. I understand why maybe they felt it was necessary for like Gary Oldman to have this like intro and have him be, presented to the audience as someone who's not necessarily a good guy or not necessarily a bad guy. Like you don't know how you're supposed to feel about him at this point. I get that, but it was too drawn out.
I almost feel like that scene was put in there to make Gary Oldman agree to be in the movie. Because that's an actor's scene, and most of the stuff he has to do in this movie are not actors' scenes.
Probably. I can name probably two others, and that's it.
You know, like
You know.
I watching it, I get the feeling that it feels like a later day addition to the script because Gary
Yeah.
Oldman probably was like, "This is crap. I don't want to be in this." But wait, I can be this doctor dealing with
Yeah.
someone coming. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Entirely.
yeah.
No, I'm with
I
you.
mean, that's completely a guess on my part, but it feels, as a writer, it feels like that. Like, hey, Gary Oldman thinks that there's not enough like character moments for him, and okay, cool, we'll write one.
We'll write one, and I like wonder who actually wrote it. You know.
You know, I have that in my notes somewhere, but we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that later.
So, you know, they come in and Dennett says he wouldn't be asked to work on combat applications.
Mm-hmm. He
But
won't do that.
yeah, but they tell him there's a way to do a real revenue stream behind his research, and he can save thousands of lives.
Thousands of lives in the process, and he's into this. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, there's the whole.
What I like about this too. Hold on. What I like
Yeah,
about
go
this
on.
too is that it sets up the fact that he could be easily persuaded.
Yeah.
You know.
You know. So now there's the whole fucking thing about Lewis in the hospital.
It doesn't matter. It's all
Yeah.
fucking terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, like, R.I.P. But like, come on.
Yeah. No,
I don't know. I feel like, what's her name? Who played Clara?
Clara in this. Oh, I did not give a shit. Like,
I thought she was great. I thought that she did. Again, I thought that all the actors did great with what they were given.
Yeah.
To do.
I'll say this had the potential to be a so much worse movie than it already was if they had bad actors in it, but they don't. They actually have some pretty great actors doing awful material and trying their hardest, which is some of the shittiest fucking material ever.
We've all been a part of shitty movies.
Yeah. But you know, so oh my god, they're looking. So let's go. They're looking at potential cops for RoboCop. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger and no.
Yeah, it's really depressing the things they go through, and it's like a time like you think about even almost 10 years ago where they could get away with saying some of the things they did. You know.
Well, you know the funny thing is, there's a scene in RoboCop 2 that this reminded me of. But that
which
scene
was also the movie that I started watching first before I realized it was the wrong movie.
Oh, okay. RoboCop 2 is fucking awesome. Simply because one of the things I love there. So RoboCop 2 is actually named after the character of RoboCop 2 in the film. Because any corporation, you know, if they put out a successful product, they're going to want to put out a better version of it. And of course, the climax of the film, if you watch the fucking movie, you know, it's not giving anything away to know that literally the climax is RoboCop versus RoboCop 2 at the end of it. But there's a scene where they go over potential RoboCop 2s, and it is brilliant.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't seen it. I'll send if you can either watch RoboCop 2 on your own, or I'll send you the clip of that scene. I'm not going to watch
RoboCop 2 on my. Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
I'll send you the scene then because it's fucking great. It's an amazing scene. And it's not the sequel to this. I'm talking about the original RoboCop.
Yes.
Yeah. RoboCop. The first. See, that's the funny thing is that like there's a RoboCop trilogy. I only recommend watching the first two movies.
Okay.
RoboCop 3, it was so bad Peter Weller actually refused to come back for it.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of the main cast refused to come back from it, and I'm pretty sure they kill Lewis, like, in the first, 20 minutes, because Nancy Allen only agreed to be in it contractually. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because it was a fucking awful PG-13 RoboCop movie, which right there should tell you a big fucking problem with it.
That's why I wrote at the top of my notes when I was writing the wrong thing at the beginning. I was like PG-13, fuck this, and I was like, oh wait, this is the wrong movie, and then I wrote a poem for you.
Yeah. So, well, thank you. I'm very pleased that you wrote a poem for me. That makes me feel good.
Oh, it's just how angry I am that I have to watch this.
Still, Still. But you know, so we go to Murphy's home. He's with his wife and his son, Clara and David. And they are the most generic action movie family ever. Like, their performances aren't bad, but they're just so fucking generic. Like,
I think later on that, like, you know, I had this theory that the actress playing Clara maybe like demanded that she had more important things to do, you know, because it was so generic that she was just like, I need to have more to do. And they wrote in scenes where she got emotional, you know.
yeah, but most like shitty action films basically have the emotional like wife who is like, that's the
like
whole
when
thing.
she went to the, I'm talking about when she went to the news. I'm like, I wonder if, you know, like,
I mean, I assume that was, honestly, I think that seems like something that was just in there, but I think that was her just acting her fucking ass off with shitty material. You know, I mean, he's like, really, what are their character traits of his wife and son except they love Murphy?
she has to make the horrible decision as a woman, as a wife, as a strong woman, maybe who's not had the chance to be the strong woman that she is, to take over her husband's life and well-being and consent to the government. Even if she didn't have a choice, I'd like to think she had a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
But that is
we don't get to see that.
But that is based on her loving her husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the
Giving
thing,
her
is
the benefit of the doubt.
That's the only character trait that they gave her. And she's
doing woman Robocop.
She's doing so much that she can to fucking, you know, bring gravitas to that, but that's really the only character trait they gave her.
Right.
You know, I mean, so he's a good movie dad, and then they have movie like love. At this point, I check how long the movie's been. It's been 24 minutes.
I know.
And the car alarm goes off. He insists he's going to go fix it, and then the car blows
explodes.
Up. Yeah. Which, you know, this was, I really miss how dramatic the original fucking death of Robocop was.
Yeah, that was crazy. That's, you know, I was getting to a point where I was like, how is this going to happen? Because this guy's obviously Robocop. You know, how is this going to happen? Could there be people who had like a hit out on Lewis and they were disappointed that he didn't die or was in hospital, or like, was Alex in on it in this version? You know, there's so many things, like so many more interesting ways to have gone about it.
Yeah.
You know, it still pulled at my heartstrings as someone who came from like a good family and all that shit, that could just happen to anyone. Mm-hmm. But I was like, oh, well, he's got to live because he's Robocop.
You know, well, he's got to die to become Robocop. But here he doesn't even have to die. He basically is just, his spine is severed. He's in a wheelchair. He'll be blind in one eye because his optical nerves are damaged. He'll most likely be deaf.
Okay, can I bring up something?
Yeah.
And then I think I have to pee afterwards.
Okay.
So the first time that we see Robocop, right? Mm-hmm. And he's freaking out, asking all the right questions, right? As one would, like, why can't I move anything? Like, mm-hmm. Like trying to figure out his surroundings and why the fuck this is all happening to him. Not recalling what happened.
Yeah.
In the accident. His left hand is the one that's left. Mm-hmm. And then for the rest of the movie, it's his right hand that's left. In the suit and out of the suit. Well, isn't that interesting?
That's what we call a continuity error in the industry. For those of you civilians.
I mean, and if I'm wrong, correct me, like, because I was rewatching clips of it with my guests.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think I'm going to rewatch it to correct you?
No, but like, you know, I was rewatching bits of it because it's been a minute. I've been going through a lot, but that I'm fine. But you know, I was like, holy fuck. It's the first time that they expose him when he asks to see what's beneath him. That happens. Spoiler alert. it's his left hand that's left there, and then for the rest of the movie, including the last time you see him exposed, it's his right hand. That's the hand that's left. But in that one scene, it's his left hand, and I was like, well, that's just shitty filmmaking.
Well, I will tell you though, I did look it up, by the way, and Michael Kenneth Williams was the name of Lewis, the actor who plays Lewis.
Yes, of course.
Yes. I knew him from The Wire, but I never really knew what his name was.
Boardwalk Empire. Yeah.
Oh yeah, where he was Chalky White. Yeah.
He was Chucky White. Yeah.
Yeah, I never finished Boardwalk Empire. It kind of lost me. Like there were 2 seasons I didn't watch because I was just like, this is not.
See, I watched all of it, but I feel like that was like when I was just flirting. Flirting's a new word. I don't know what it means, but we'll figure it out. Flirting. I'm coining it right now. When I was just first getting into Boardwalk or into television series and all of that genre, and I absolutely fell in love with him, and that's where I heard of him. My mother loves The Wire.
Yeah. The Wire is a very good show. Everyone I would dispute with people who say it's the best show ever made, but I think it's in the top 10.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually said that to me before.
Yeah, like I know so many people who say it is the best show that's ever been, and I can see why someone would think that, but I disagree with them on that.
What do you think is the best show ever been?
Breaking Bad.
Me too.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad, hands down.
Yeah, I don't think any show has ever been better than Breaking Bad.
I agree. Game of Thrones is second.
Game of Thrones, I would actually probably put around 4th or so. But it's in the top 5.
Well, no, I put The Office second, but we're talking about a certain genre.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not. Thinking about it, I don't really have any comedies in my top 10.
Yeah, I just I didn't either. Who knew I needed comedy in order to still be human?
Yeah.
Yes, I have to pee.
All right.
Just so all of you know.
All right. Well, we'll give you a little advardment then for the next screening of our film Bishop's Cove. If you're watching on YouTube.
Yes, we will.
And those of you who are listening to the podcast will just hear crushing silence because we still don't know how to set up sponsors on the new Spotify after they took over from Anchor. So just welcome to the void if you're listening to us on the podcast.
We all exist in the void.
Yes, and we'll see you
in 30 seconds.
Yep. We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.
You are Heather Lambert, right?
Yeah.
Did you know a Catalonia Silver a number of years ago?
Who's that?
I'm afraid that Catalonia passed away recently. In her will, she requested her remains be scattered by you and her parents.
You brought our baby back home to us.
Tell me about my sister.
And the more you hear, the tastier you I'm the one who's done that.
Hey everyone, we're back.
We're back, and I'm in a new location. I'm in a new location because I just moved, and the outlets are different in a new apartment.
Yes, yes. So we're back to torture ourselves by talking about RoboCop.
I'm literally sitting on my floor.
2014. So it's funny, by the way. The thing I was when I was reading the notes while you were peeing. The screenwriter apparently complained. He called it the worst experience of his life. And he said, for every 10 ideas I have, 9 are cut.
What?
Yes. So all I could think was, this movie already has too many fucking ideas in it.
Yeah, it's trying to make it something that is, not what Robocop should be.
Yeah, like I said, like it's trying to, like, I think if you really look at it, it's trying to be a fucking Tolstoy novel when it's fucking Robocop.
Thank you. It's For Whom the Bell Tolls, but Robocop version.
Yeah, it is so densely plotted, but it is densely plotted.
It's War and Peace.
Yeah, but it is densely plotted with bullshit and then shoved into like an hour and 45 minutes.
57 minutes.
Yeah, whatever. Like, or I mean, it felt like 9 years, but
No, it's true.
Like, I almost wonder, is there a good movie in this if they had a completely different editor? I don't know.
Probably.
Because
maybe.
There's good performances from people doing shitty material, so I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm adamant about is gold, don't touch it. And people keep touching that, meaning like you touch a great movie, a classic movie, and you remake it, chances are you're not going to do a better version, So I'm just frustrated at the fact that people keep trying to, and I understand why they do, for monetization, and how thrilling it must be for actors who are cast in like the remake of something like Pet Sematary or The Little Mermaid or something like that, to recreate a fucking classic for a generation that the new generation gets to see, that they grew up on, that now they're a part of.
Yeah.
But I was
gonna say, or if you're the girl from Snow White, you can just talk a lot of shit about it.
Adrienne Castelli.
Yeah, she basically said about how much she doesn't like the original one and how she's improving it with the.
Oh no,
that's why she has all the fanboys who hate her because of saying stuff like that.
I didn't know anything about that. As a Disney nerd, that's a shame on me.
She had she had said that there's a lot of sexist bullshit in the original one, and we're fixing it and getting rid of all that.
I wonder how much she was paid to say that, or if her publicist told her to say so. Because yes, there are issues, just like if someone who's like a huge Shakespeare scholar type person, whatever, nerd, but, people take issue with certain things in Shakespeare where I feel like women are meant to be empowered. If I had the opportunity nowadays to like rewrite a couple of monologues saying Taming of the Shrew, maybe I would, but I wouldn't go out and say something like that actress is saying who is doing with Snow White right now. You want to pay homage to literally the first Disney princess movie and then change it from that. You don't want to talk shit about your employer. I mean, like, see what Scarlett Johansson's having to deal with, and that wasn't even an original fucking Disney thing. I don't know. I just think that you shouldn't try and touch something that works for people, Snow White scared the shit out of me as a kid. Fucking the queen turning into the evil hag, forget about it. Like, I had nightmares for years. Mufasa in the sky and the Lion King, forget about it. I'm not scared of any of that shit now with the fucking remakes. I don't know. That's why I'm thinking, the original Robocop was so good. I hate that they fucking did this.
You know who really was freaked out by the remake of The Lion King, by the way? Was Sadie. The
cat?
Yeah, the cat was really... I was watching it, and she was in the room, and she would, like, cuddle up with me because she was getting anxiety from it.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, well, I guess because the animals look realistic enough that for a cat, it's actually really disturbing.
That makes sense. They have cat TV now. They have dog TV now and all that shit. They have cat and dog TV.
Do the girls like dog TV?
I had dog TV back when I was living like on 20th, and the this was years ago, don't stalk me. The dogs were like, what the fuck is going on? Like Lola and Gert were like, oh, also love you, Lola. Um, that they were like, what the fuck is going on? I don't understand. Mom's not here. She can't help us. And I was like watching them on the dog camera, being like, someone's trying to kill.
They were freaking out from it.
Yeah. They were just used to listening to Fleetwood Mac, and I'm like, let me pay this exorbitant amount of money for like dog TV. But I've seen several videos. I have a cat. Like about cat TV, and cats apparently love it. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, they don't like the Lion King. I'll say that.
It makes sense.
I
wanted to say, like, while I'm thinking about it, we think that, and of course, Errol, my like 82-year-old stepfather, is the first person who said this, but now like word's gotten around Berkshire County. And people who've like met Monkey and stuff is Monkey, my kitten, who I assume most of you know who are listening or watching. We rescued and needed money for, and she's doing very well. And now she's like a cat. But my 82-year-old stepfather said that, I think there's part like wild cat in her, and she's growing up to look like a wild cat.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, but in Queens, like coming from Queens, do they have bobcats in Queens? That's the big question.
I mean, they have fucking wild like alley cats everywhere that are just feral and riddled with herpes. So I mean, it's
But like, no, a wild cat meaning like not a house cat, not a stray cat, like a bobcat.
Oh, I don't think she's like a bobcat.
She might be, man. Listen, I'm holding on to hope. It's enough to be a fucking bobcat.
She's just a regular destructive cat, because cats are fucking predators, man. And you've introduced one in your ecosystem.
I did, and Charles knows this for a fact. I had 78, 80 like plants. At least like 55 of them were rescues. I'm down to like 58 plants because of this cat. So now everything around my new apartment is like wire meshing that she can climb up but can't Velcro out in order to get to the plant.
Yeah, you have to do that with a cat. You pretty much have to cat-proof the apartment.
Speaking of which, can you do me a favor? Sorry, we're talking personal shit, but like, can you send me that link to the location squirter thing, because I need it.
Oh yeah. I'll send you that.
Please.
Yeah,
because I never got that.
Yeah, so
we're talking about Robocop.
Yeah, well, let me just explain for people what this is. It's a thing. So we had a very rambunctious cat named Sadie
we love Sadie.
Yeah, in the poly relationship that I was part of, and Sadie would just climb places she's not supposed to go, and she'd do kitty parkour and all this. So there's these little things, and they don't hurt the cat, but they don't like being sprayed with them. And it's like motion sensing. So it just like when something crosses the little line of motion, it'll spray them, and keep them off the places they're not supposed to go. Another thing that's good for that is tinfoil too. And if you do them in combination, you can really keep them from like fucking up your furniture or stuff like that. Because
my tinfoil, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So anyway, let's go
Robocop.
back.
We're obviously trying to avoid talking about this at all costs.
Yes. So he is there, and he's like, "What type of suit is this?" And after seeing that he's from Robocop, and Gary Oldman's like, "It's not a suit, Alex. It's you. This was the only option."
Does he have a heart? He doesn't have a heart, right?
If he only had a heart.
Oh, fuck. This wasn't the first time. I forget what song came. Oh, so he's going through this dreamlike state, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a Frank Sinatra song. And not only do they have, I mean, now knowing what the budget was, it makes sense. But upon first watching that, you know, they're playing a Frank Sinatra song with Frank singing it, which I know the like royalties for that are insane for only 30 seconds. And they played like almost 90 seconds of a song, and then they showed his image.
Yeah, no, this was a hugely expensive movie.
It was $100 million, I saw.
Yeah.
$100 million. And then so this, and it was a cover, which I think maybe you could have gotten a discount for If I Only Had a Heart, like the Tin Man song.
Yeah.
From the Wizard of Oz. Like, but I'm like, even that melody had to have cost them $1 million.
I'm sure. This was a movie where they were just throwing money against the wall and hoping that would be all they would need. You know, they have A-list actors in it. They have, you know, but they were missing the biggest thing was the script.
Yeah.
And honestly, and as I said, I personally think the RoboCop outfit looks like shit. I hate it. I absolutely hate it because and you know, it really bothers me when he's walking in it and it's still making the big clunky robot noises.
Well, it's like relearning how to walk. That's how I excused it. However, I feel like whoever added those noises in post, like it wasn't like equalized correctly sound wise.
Well, it's also to me, it's the fact that like he is now this sleek fucking like new car type RoboCop. He is not like Peter Weller's RoboCop made that noise because he was a big, slow fucking walking tank. It's new,
sleek,
it's fast. Yeah, it's fast. It's like it would not be it would be making like the fucking type of noise you'd hear from a goddamn Roomba or some shit. It wouldn't be making the fucking clanking noises that he makes as when he walks.
The only excuse I had was that he's relearning how to walk, and that it didn't make any sense. Sound like the sound engineer, I feel like in this failed us, but they only failed filmmakers. What you and I failed to do a lot is remember that we're filmmakers. I know that's why we do this podcast, but a lot of people would just not even notice that, you know.
Mm-hmm. I personally think that was their, hey, let's do that as a callback to the original film, but now it makes no sense with the new redesign.
No, it's garbage. Yeah.
You know, so
which is what I initially wrote, which is RoboCop 2014 garbage.
Yeah, so we learned that he's in China, where they're making him, of course, like most American products. And at that point, I put, wait, is this film's attempt at satire? Like, is there? Well, go on.
I fucking missed that it was in China entirely. I must have been laughing at something else.
Yeah,
I mean, I figured it out quickly. After, but I missed that entirely.
Yeah,
when it first happened.
Yeah, when he runs out of the lab and then he goes into like the rice paddy fields and stuff. And,
yes.
Yeah, and people. Well, before that, even he's people are speaking Mandarin, and that's when I'm like, oh my god, I'm guessing he's in China.
Teach him Mandarin. Oh, so they didn't say it.
They don't say it till they
didn't put it as
him.
like the little like lower third. They didn't say like the Omnicorp whatever development research lab China. They didn't say that initially.
No, not
okay. So I didn't miss anything. I was like, well, apparently I missed that they were in China because we have all these fucking farmers like right outside the Omnicorp fucking boundary, and I didn't know why they're saying, "Oh, teach him Mandarin."
Yeah.
Didn't say it. Okay, all right. I feel better about myself at least.
Yeah. So they shut him down remotely among the field workers, and then they cut back to him with the lab.
Which also, I must say, especially if I may interject, especially with the Tin Man, shutting him down in a field where you have marshes, you have swampland, you have mud. Shutting him down in a place like that, if you're calling him the Tin Man, even if he's made of steel, it's going to rust things, which we never see. We do see them pumping him full of everything and like working on the suit so many times, but we never see them addressing the concern of how long, even if it's only like 10 minutes, the damage that maybe whatever his suit was made of could have endured based on where they shut him down in this marsh field where the farmers were.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm like, that doesn't physiologically make sense. I mean, I get we're talking about a Robocop, but they're trying to make it as realistic as possible. I don't know, plot holes. That's all I'm saying.
Well, to me,
Continue.
that didn't bother me so much, only because I figure if you're designing him for combat situations, you're going to design him to be able to withstand falling in a marsh for 10 minutes.
Sure,
You know,
but it's just a thought that went through my head. You know what I mean?
Plus,
Yeah.
I mean, he's not really even metal. He's fucking CG for the most part. But
Don't tell the audience that.
But no, but you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
When you see so many movies that use like CG robots or whatever, when they stop doing something practical, so many times they also forget how something practical would react to its environment.
Of course.
And so, like the Ed 209s move way faster than something that size should be able to move. He is just, I mean, he's making like a really heavy noise when he is such a sleek thing. Like they've really forgotten how, if this was a real thing, how it would work.
And also, like, if they're gonna refer to it as something of the past, and I get the like whole play on the Tin Man thing like that, but go back to the Wizard of Oz, a very easy fix on that when they're going through, which they go into like next in the film, all the things that have to be dumped into a system in order for it to make sense. They would dump oil into a system because the Tin Man famously needs oil pumped into everything in his body in order to get him to start working again. I just felt like there was a missed opportunity there. They could have you're going to play it back, take it all the way home. You're going to pay that amount of money to get that song, take it all the way home. You're going to be like, what did they say? Like all the things they're dumping into his body. That's where we are, right?
Yeah. Well, he's basically right now where we are is where he wants to die.
Oh, well, yeah, I'd want to die too.
Yeah. And they're like, well, let's say I did. What do I say to your wife? And then it becomes this whole thing.
They're called gaslighting. Gary Oldman is gaslighting.
Not only that, but let's be honest about this here, right? Like, it makes so much more sense in the original when they just told his wife, hey, he's dead, than for it to be this whole fucking, like, weird romance with a man who, Robocop 2, once Murphy knows who he is, he starts kind of stalking his ex-wife. Because he's still trying.
She knows he's dead.
Yeah, she knows he's dead, and in fact, they even tell him to stay away from her because you're ruining her life. And one of the executives gets right in his face and says, come on, even if she did go with you, what are you going to do? You can't satisfy a woman. You don't even have a penis anymore.
That was the thing. I was like, what about the robo penis?
Yeah, well, that was exactly what I wrote here, where I'm like, wait a minute, like while he's talking to his wife, it's on fucking Future Zoom, and we're supposed to be buying into this relationship. I'm like, what exactly is he going to do with her? Is there an attachment they're going to give him? Like,
I mean, it could, where's the robo penis? But then I think about it, and I'm thinking about the actress who, while I was peeing, should have looked up. But I feel like she gave so much to the performance where she was given so little that, you could think or believably assume that it wouldn't be about sex. It would be about, just having the person back or in their life and then one of my house guests, when I was like rewatching certain scenes today, they were just like, did you see those robo fingers? Like, did you see them? You see the robo fingers while the guy was playing guitar? As long as he's not being emotionally stimulated, like everything would be fine. She doesn't need a dick, but I don't know.
But once again, I mean, we even go into the whole emotion thing. If he can't be emotional, well then, hey. What great a relationship is that going to be?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, the biggest betrayal I feel in this whole thing is like what she signed off on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's
I
what
would
I
be
feel.
super pissed off if someone fucking, I mean, I on a good day I usually want to die anyway, but if someone were like, okay, hey, now you're in a fucking robot body that will last forever, I'd be super pissed off at that.
I am elevating. I'm using certain things in my apartment now that I'm sitting on my floor because I just moved in order to move this to sit higher. Is it working?
So,
yeah. Yes. Oh, I did it.
There you go. So, did you take note of the most exciting dialogue in the entire film, by the way? Where someone actually wrote energy inflow at 1,320 kilocalories. Now starting in anti-inflammatory corticoids, hormones, and antibiotic protocols. And I wrote, boy, that is some exciting technobabble. Someone actually wrote that.
And I wonder, like, if they were like, this is accurate. We spent so much money actually getting someone and hiring someone who knows about this shit. Like, they could have done that.
Knowing how much this movie costs, I'm sure they had a consultant who was so proud of being able to fucking tell them that. So,
like, they went into, I was thinking that, like, I learned some shit.
Yeah. I learned how not to make a movie. They give him antidepressants.
Also, that's not how lungs work. Also, you're compressing his lung circumference in those little glass cages. Just had to say.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So they give him antidepressants. He'll have a nice dream, and then we cut to Jackie Earle Haley, the only man with 3 names who is not a serial killer, but even though he's played a few. So. Now he's showing guns to Robocop. He's state of the art, but not invulnerable. 50 caliber or higher can shoot through him, which seems very much like, hey, if you're going to make your big super cop that you're going to put out on the streets, you might not want to have him able to be taken down by something that's, you know what I mean?
By something that is human made that you can just have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did we just skip a whole bunch?
I don't give a shit. So
I'm just now I'm scrolling.
Yeah, like,
go ahead.
I mean, we are on page 6 of my 13 pages of notes. Do you really
I have 27 pages of notes, so now I'm scrolling.
Yeah, so...
Okay, yeah, no, you're way ahead of me. Let's go. Okay. I basically just spent a lot of time just complaining.
Yeah, because they actually hadn't even played the "Oh, If I Only Had a Heart" song yet in the film.
Oh shit, you're right.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that part yet.
Hold on, 50 I know 50 calibers will be a thing.
Yeah.
50 continue them.
Yeah, so basically, if he's threatened, his visor goes down and becomes immediately available. And so Jackie Earle Haley runs Pure Robots. And without my sign off, it better start learning Chinese because it ain't never going home.
Maddox. That was his character, Maddox.
Yeah. And then he says, so it's going to be the EM-208s versus the Tin Man. And that's when he starts playing If I Only Had a Heart.
Right. Okay. No, we're way further up than we thought that we were. Okay.
Yeah.
Continue.
And when he's 5.6 seconds behind, Jackie Earle Haley says, I wouldn't buy that for $1.
Oh yeah.
To which I imagine the fucking producers of this, just congratulating themselves on that scene and saying, hey, he said the thing. Applaud now, plebes. You know.
Plebes, yes.
So, oh my God, we're back into all the bullshit with the fucking thing. I even wrote, how are they making Gary Oldman boring? Like,
see, no, I thought Gary Oldman was great.
Yeah, I
great again based on everything he was given.
Yeah, like I love Gary Oldman, but you know, I don't love him in
after
this.
He goes in. Are we talking about after he goes into the thing with Maddox, where he's just like, you know, you get a ticket back home?
Yeah, and he has the human instinct that interferes with the system, and
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So they've got
right.
okay, sorry. I was going to say they've got a release date, and he doesn't care how he does it. And then they're working on his brain, and he tastes like peanut butter.
Okay, now I know where we are.
Yeah. So they're gonna fix how they process.
Butter.
What? What?
He doesn't like peanut butter. He doesn't like peanut butter. He says.
Well,
he says he doesn't like peanut butter.
I know. I'm not going to comment on that. But,
I don't know where that is, but I'm trying to find it.
Yeah. So let's just keep skipping ahead. I don't think anyone really gives a shit.
Oh shit! Well, tell me where we're skipping ahead to, because I have so many notes.
Yeah. They're putting chips in his brain.
Happy to skip ahead.
They're trying to fix how he processes information, and he won't know the difference. They're putting the chips in his brain. They talk about focus testing and how kids love that he transforms. And they decide to have him be black in color, so he looks more tactical, which makes it look even more like a suit.
No, it does. But I love what What's His Butt says later.
That he costs $6 billion?
No, that William says, like, now you're the right color.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even make a note of that.
I
didn't even make a note of that.
Now you're the right color, he says. Well, I was like, oh.
Oh, Lord. So, do your best today. We started this program to give men like you a second chance. And they're doing some sort of battle royale thing where all the robots are going to be after him. And it's basically, I wrote, this feels like a pointless action scene, and I don't even feel like taking notes here. Cue Hocus Pocus by Focus because it's shooty time.
Yeah, basically, so he was running behind by like 5.3 seconds on the simulation, but that was a robot. And the whole issue is that they wanted a man inside the robot, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I wrote, this would be a lot more fun if I were playing it instead of watching it.
Yeah, no, exactly. I was like, they should actually make this a game.
You know, well, they actually just made a game of the original Robocop called Rogue City, where Peter Weller came back to do the voice of Robocop. From what I heard, it's actually, I haven't played it, but from what I've read, they do an interesting thing that I haven't really seen before, in that when you're Robocop, really no one can fucking hurt you until you start getting to like bosses and then other robots and shit. They said it's that like feeling of what it would be like if you're Robocop and there's 14 guys shooting at you and none of them are doing any damage.
But I did enjoy the whole like 37 like people killed or whatever the fuck, threats killed or blah blah blah. I mean, like, I just like seeing that.
Yeah.
But
is that in this movie?
I would like seeing it. Yeah, it was in this movie. I'd like to see that like in a video game.
Yeah.
More so than anything.
But yeah, no, in the Rogue City one, basically Robocop is how Robocop is in the movie, but he's slow. You can't run, you can't jump, but you're also like literally a fucking walking tank. So, you know, and there it makes sense that you've constantly got that fucking, you know, robot moving noise, because that was there. But that game apparently takes place between Robocop 2 and 3.
It's also complicated. Like trying to find also this movie on Amazon.
Oh yeah, well, because there's 900 like straight to TV Robocops as well.
There are so many Robocops. It's insane. It's insane.
Because here's what happened, is that the company that made the original went out of business. So this is why it's so important to maintain your IP rights, because once your IP rights are in the wrong hands, or if they start floating around, you will have 900 fucking versions or sequels or remakes or whatever of the thing that you made. And that's what happened with RoboCop. There's just, the rights were just floating around so much that there was like a reboot of it every 4 fucking minutes. And then there were TV series of it, and then there were straight to video versions of it. Hell,
That's the thing. I was looking up like Robocop 2, and I was like, I don't think that's right.
yeah, no, like RoboCop 2 is just called RoboCop 2. The sequel to the original is just called RoboCop 2. But and then RoboCop 3, that sequel was just called RoboCop 3, and then after that it became like RoboCop City of Shit or whatever the fuck it's called.
City of Shit.
Yes, and
if it sold better, maybe.
In fact, they even announced one of those things that's really trendy in 2018, where they were gonna make a RoboCop sequel to the original that ignored all the films after Part 1. Which they did with Halloween, and they tried to do with Alien, and like, you know, but because of COVID, one of the few things COVID ever actually did right, it stopped that from happening. Because I have no faith that they would have done it right at all.
Mm-mm.
No faith whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
So, at this point, they start doing all sorts of shit to his brain, and his brain makes him think he's in control. It's the illusion of free will. And I wrote, this is way too complicated, and two, that sounds nightmarish.
I wrote, I'm confused.
That's what I wrote. Yeah, that's because they made it so incredibly complicated how this works.
And I'm a fucking Shakespeare nerd.
And he's created a machine that thinks it's Alex Murphy. And
okay, so that made sense, but I was like, why? I just think as a doctor at that point, you just ask for like another week's time, you know, like, because based on what I got, like, they didn't have to show him for another 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So give him another week before you just completely like get rid of his dopamine, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so now he ends up going back home, which is, to me, I think the actress who played Clara she did her best, and I have nothing against her, but I think there's a reason why his wife wasn't an important character in the original. Because it makes no sense.
What are you to do with it?
It makes no sense for this character to be, especially being in her, like I wrote when, you know, his wife's been waiting 4 months and you're gonna do fine. I wrote, does he have a penis? Or his fingers cold? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's a fucking robot. You know, is like, I don't think that they designed him to be able to fuck.
No, definitely. I mean, they showed very great detail that no, he's not.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not, you know, this is something that I believe will come into my life because my mother is so adamant about it, and I don't follow everything my mother tells me, clearly. But you know, she's like, at a certain point that doesn't matter, especially if you have kids, if you've been in a marriage for a long time, that's not what matters. It's about the love and having that person there. And I'm like, maybe that's how she felt. That's what I kept thinking. Maybe that's how she felt. Like, it's just having David, wow, Freudian, David have a father, you know? So maybe that's what it is.
But
her name was Abby Cornish. Cornish.
But what if the father was not even, like, was a cold metal shell that just happens to have his memories? You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, then it becomes a huge like guilt trip, like on her, because she's the one who signed the fucking consent forms. You know.
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't know. I mean, I feel like with things like this, you can't really like make an executive decision on how you feel about it unless you were put in a like similar situation, which in this case can't happen. You can say what you want to do or what you think you do, but I mean, like, I'd probably make the same call as her, but I'd like to think I'd be smarter and go on the news way quicker.
Yeah. I will say, I actually wrote there's a genuinely nice moment in the film when his son has saved all the Red Wings games on his computer.
Yeah, that's so sweet. I don't have time because Daddy's suit needs maintenance or something.
Yeah, Daddy's suit needs special handling, and I wrote, "Is he gone fuck?"
Is he gone fuck?
Yeah. So
who's gonna do his special handling?
And whatever they cut to, I wrote, "Oh, there I was thinking something interesting might happen in this movie." I
want to know what I've talked about this in I've talked about this in other podcasts in the past. If you've been with us the whole time, you will remember this. That when huge action sequences happen for me, I kind of zone out.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, I literally just called them shooty, like, spunk gargle wee wee scenes. Like, I don't give a shit. Like,
my big issue that I also like, the thing that I paid the most attention to, other than like Lewis getting shot initially, or then Lewis later on protecting Murphy, so he can get away. The other big thing that I noted was that they just didn't really care about anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
There was no need for it. And then, the biggest thing, now I am remembered, that's Shakespeare, is that towards the beginning of the film, Alex Murphy's voice, the timbre of his voice, the octave of his voice changes when the visor goes down.
Mm-hmm.
And then even before his dopamine is brought down to 2%, spoiler, his mask is up and his voice is the same. It's in that lower octave. So the consistency, the continuity is still not the same even then.
Mm-hmm.
And that really bothered me.
Mm.
Where, it's supposed to be a thing where, like, the visor goes down, the weapons come out.
Yeah.
And now I talk like this. But then his face was up and he was still talking like this. And he wasn't talking like himself either. And it was before everything was done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've said my piece.
Yeah. So, right now is where Lewis says you're the right color now. All right.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's people gathering around to see it. And they upload the entire Detroit Police Department database into his brain, and he'll have all footage of all CCTVs since 2011 to the president and all the present and all criminal records. I go, well, hey, talking about presidents and criminal records, so he has enough evidence to make 634 arrests. Yeah, excuse me.
I'm not even on the right page of my notes, and I remember that 634 arrests.
Yeah, he's getting too emotional. He's seeing a lot of crime. He sees his own crime scene and freaks out and starts crashing. Norton kicks everybody out. It's time for me. So at this point, I turned the movie off because I was that bored.
I'm not even on the right fucking point, Charles. Jesus Christ, give me a warning.
Yeah.
I watched the whole thing.
Yeah. Let's see. Because there's just so much bullshit in this. I don't like the fact that it's a big deal of like, should we lower his dopamine to 5%? No, that's not low enough. Let's lower it to 2%. Like, that's not fucking drama.
That's not, well, no, I mean, it's drama for people who love Grey's Anatomy and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Or House, which I do, where it's like 5%, no, 2%. So they settle at 2%. And I'm like, he's not going to be able to see anything. And meanwhile, all the news and the press are trying to just go and like present Robocop, Detroit, and to the world as a way for America to be safe. Yeah. And he walks right past his wife and child. That hurt me. I mean, that, like, because we all as actors try to put ourselves in everyone else's shoes. I can't, the only person in this that I can't put myself in their shoes is Robocop, because I can't imagine not feeling literally everything. But like going and thinking about how the kid or the mother might have felt, how devastating, or Lewis, how devastating that might have felt. But That's where we're at, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good.
So, yeah, this is all very boring. So let's go to.
Tell me an important thing about where we're at, so I can scroll in my notes because
I
should have
That is literally what I am doing, is scrolling to, because right now it's all about the drug lab and all this shit. Come on, do you give a shit about the drug lab stuff?
Yeah. He shot someone.
Yeah.
Kid, that's important. That's bad. Anyway.
But I put, like, you know, there's a reason that these scenes of him being an actual cop were only like 2 minutes of the original movie.
Yeah.
Because none of this is very interesting.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. In the original movie, like, it took time for him to remember who, like, his family was.
Yeah.
So in this, he remembers initially. So that was a huge change. And I really liked that it, like, initially, I really liked that, or I saw a huge opportunity as far as the writing, as far as the filmmaking goes, for him remembering his wife and his child.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they fucked it all up.
See, what would have worked is if he remembered it and his wife still thought that his wife signed on but could have no contact with him. Because then you've got a fucking conflict. You know, like him, he knows that she's still alive, but he can never be with her. So that he, you know, like maybe he watches her from afar because he can't ever satisfy her as a man now. And he's this fucking monstrosity. And you know what I mean? Like,
I see. And I will counter you with this. I feel like you have that same conflict with this, where she signed on to it and she was so betrayed by everyone with Omnicorp and with all this shit that, you know, she's given all of these false promises and is not allowed access with no good reason to her husband, told that he's, sorry, spoiler alert, and all this shit. And she's still just, I don't know. I feel like you have the same thing. And on the flip side, all right, so with him losing all of his dopamine, forgetting who he is, remembering who he is, getting to love them again and all this shit, I feel like there's a huge character development between Clara and between Alex that could have happened that just didn't happen. There was a great opportunity based on the budget for them to write that in.
mm-hmm.
And they just didn't do it. I think your idea is better, but based on what was written, there was an opportunity there. And it could have given her more to deal with too.
Or you know what you could have even done is if you could have just skipped the entire him going to see her and all this other shit. She signs on to make him, but they have basically taken all of his emotion because it doesn't work without emotion. So when she first sees him, that's when he does the walk by and paying no attention to her whatsoever.
Duh. Yep. Done.
Yeah. And
I feel like American audience are prone to softer things like this, like based on so many people I know who I do respect. I'm sorry I talk shit about you, people, but you know you'd talk shit about me if the roles were reversed. But so many opportunities to just do it better.
Yeah.
To keep it the same even, and to just do it better. What the fuck are you laughing at, bitch?
No, I'm looking at my notes, and is his son is having night, because they start going into all the drug dealer shit, and no one gives a fuck. So, Clara
cares about the drug. There are two cops who were corrupt.
Yeah. So
deal with the fucking killing. That's all we needed.
Yeah. So Clara keeps calling about Robocop. They're talking about suing. And I'll issue a gag order before I let her see her husband. And you know, Clara stops Alex in the street, tells him his son is having nightmares, his family is falling apart. I want to, Alex, and I put in parentheses, without a penis. So he drives away and he starts looking at CCTV footage of his son being sad and stressed. And and then there's sad we're supposed to care about this music playing while Robocop is overriding system priorities to go see his family, which I'm sure programs can just do.
Definitely.
Yeah, you know, so they want to shut him down, but Norton says no. And he's magically just putting his dopamine levels back to normal, which once again, how is he doing this?
See, the big issue too, my big issue that I didn't bring up earlier, and like until they started like talking about all the things that they're pumping into his system, is that when he first sees himself, throwback, when he first sees himself without his suit, how is he crying? He does not yet, he's just waking up for the first time. He does not have the means to cry. You know, and there are tears streaming down his face. So these things don't make sense. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, you know, so at this point, there's more. Now we're getting back to the drug dealer bullshit. And the drug dealer, of course, knows 50 caliber and above, aim for the head. Bad guys set bombs as we prepare.
Valen.
Yeah, as we prepare for more pointless, big budget, shooty. They turn off the lights and they wear night vision goggles because, hey, the robot guy isn't going to be able to see in the dark at all.
Night vision, then not night vision, then thermal vision, then not thermal vision, then thermal vision, then not thermal vision. That's what happened.
Yeah, no, I wrote, if I ever hear a machine is purposely coming after me, I'm going to automatically assume he has thermal vision and night vision, and I don't know, I'll go hide in a freezer or some shit.
Yep, that's a smart move. Let's buy a giant freezer.
You know, well, that we'll wait until a fucking giant robot comes after me first, and then we'll do that. You know, so he kills Valen, he shoots him, whatever.
Valen's dead.
Yeah, he scans for weapons for prints, identifies the dirty cops. Bad cop, Robocop, 13 serial number missing. Fucking A.
Kills someone, lets someone go, and then shoots him.
Yeah. So they turn Robocop off at this point because he's going after the cop who was working with Valen. Novak says Alex uncovered a nest of vipers.
The whole point of all of this is that the whole threat is that he's discovering his own murder, or like, just, you know.
You know what I realized, like, just now? It feels like all of this was supposed to be a Robocop TV series and that they tried to fit 10 episodes worth of plot into 2 hours.
They have to remember that, like, people are not, I mean, we can understand everything that's going on because we're filmmakers, you know, and we're literary people, but a lot of people are not used to this amount of information coming into one film in 2 hours with their biggest, like, stars. I mean, so yeah, I feel like you're absolutely right. Like, saying maybe a 6-episode, like, limited series.
Yeah, like,
or something.
Because I was thinking about it and I was like, there's not bad performances from people in this. But it seems like they literally had like all this plot that they were so determined to get into there so that nothing gets a chance to breathe. Nothing means anything. And it's like, this feels like if they had just taken everything that happened in this movie and just stretched it over fucking like 6 to 10 episodes of a TV show, maybe it actually would have been watchable.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You know, so now Clara Murphy's made his statement, and OCP has not let her son see Alex. Lobbyists are now upset that he's investigating corruption, and they're afraid of Robocop talking to the public. And that's the point where the sellers just
Michael Keaton.
Yeah, I corrected myself here because I wrote what Keaton asks.
Sellers just shut them down.
Yeah. So what's bigger than a hero?
Tell people what's bigger than a hero? A dead hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so they're gonna say that he's just dead and all this shit, and he's gonna basically, what I interpreted is he's just gonna fly the scene in the helicopter.
Yeah.
and calls Clara in, and she brings David, and they say that he's dead. They want to offer her like a bunch of money based on what Gary Oldman's character wants to give them.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. But basically, Gary Oldman is now lying about what he's saying. You think he could be bought for cheap, but he can't. He's lying, and he goes to like save Murphy.
Yeah.
And unleashes him from all the things. And I don't know the Asian actress's name. She was great too. Who helped him in Robocop's escape, but he escapes, and everyone lies. That's the moral of the story. Everyone lies.
Yeah.
Lies. And brought back. Alex Murphy's brought back, and Clara and David are now brought up to meet
Sellers. Yeah.
Sellers on the roof, and they offer he offers for them to take the first helicopter, which I think is meant to be shot down. That's my interpretation. And then the helicopter flies up because they see Robocop coming up the steps on the outside of the scaffolding, which is wild. I don't know. I think that was really great. I really hate that in the script she's meant to just believe what Sellers says still up until this point. Get in this helicopter.
Yeah.
That makes me sad. It makes me really sad. So Robocop comes up to the roof and shoots Sellers, and he gets shot. And then we see that a bunch of Robocop shit is just out and exposed, his wires and all this stuff, while Clara and his son are just, hugging his cold robot body.
Yeah. And at this point, the cops come in to help, and we forget to mention that the whole fucking building is just infested with Ed 209s. Right. And it's, once again, it's like a fucking video game. It is. There's a million of them.
Here's what I will give them. I will give them this. That Robocop hid because he's not an undercourt property anymore. I will give them that he hid underneath the 209. I think that was smart. That's what I want to do in a video game from now on.
Yeah, you just want Ed 209 in every video game?
Yes, every single one. Yes. Crash Bandicoot 209.
Yeah. Yeah. So he he can't shoot Jackie Earle Haley because he's a red asset, which pretty much they're doing the fucking OCP, fucking thing, but they're just changing it now to it being a red asset instead of an employee.
I'm like, everyone's a red asset now.
Yeah. So let's see. Murphy's now pointing a gun at the helicopter. He's confronting the CEO. He tries to arrest him. He tells him he can't arrest the CEO. He tells the other execs the system starts shutting down. He tries to say, dead or alive, you're coming with me. Alex, honestly, I mean you no harm. And now he aims the gun at Clara and David for no reason except because Sellers is evil. Like, really, him pointing the gun at the fucking Murphy's family, there's no reason for him to actually do that.
No. Except
that he's the bad guy.
Well, he was gonna fucking, I think, shoot them down in the helicopter regardless.
Well, yeah, but right at that moment, when he has Murphy right there, and he has Clara there, for plausible deniability, he could have very easily made it look like Murphy's out of control instead of him now pointing a gun at the fucking family.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
Yeah, so...
It's true. And meanwhile, imagine being the family, being like, oh, fuck, he's actually alive? Because they've been told, like, oh...
Yeah.
Your dad is actually dead. It's just the robot that's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
And he's out of control and he's destroying the building. Ew.
Yeah. Yeah, so he shoots, they both shoot each other, Sellers and Murphy. And his family holds his one remaining hand, which you said changed. I didn't even notice it, but it as it repeats, everything is going to be all right.
Yeah.
And we see Norton talk to Murphy, who's back to being a head in organs, and he asks how he feels, and he's ready. They put his body back together, and now he's Robocop Gray. And I put, didn't he shoot the CEO of the company?
Yeah, he didn't care.
Shouldn't that have
that
some
man
sort
didn't
of
even have
consequence?
any lines.
You
He
know,
didn't have any lines.
Yeah, like shouldn't that be a factor?
Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and then he meets with his wife and son, and we're supposed to care as the door shuts behind them. And then we go back to poor Samuel L. Jackson having to do more fucking green screen shit.
I feel like it was unnecessary for him to come back. Maybe that was in his contract.
Yeah. You know, America is now and will always be the greatest country in the face of the earth. I'm Pat Novak. Good night, cut to credits, and they go to I Fought the Law and the Law won. Because they can't even do...
because I know. You know that like Samuel L. Jackson has to like feel comforted right now, knowing this movie was such a flop, that with everything going on in the world, that what he said in that closing sequence, saying that America will always be the greatest country in the world, which I don't agree with, that he's not being scrutinized with all the time because this movie was such a flop in the US and Canada.
I thought you were going to say Samuel Jackson is happy that this was a flop, so he doesn't have to keep coming back for sequels.
Yes, that too. But like that he's not being used as a meme for like global wars that we're about to be involved in. I don't want to get into that because I you know, my AirPods are gonna die.
Yeah.
But he has to be grateful that like he's not being made a meme over this movie because it was such a flop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'll just briefly go into the making of it just a little bit. They originally considered Michael Fassbender, Matthias Schoenaerts, who I have no idea who that is, and Russell Crowe.
I don't either.
Before casting Joel Kinnaman. Hugh Laurie, actually, speaking of House, was actually set to play the Sellers instead of Michael Keaton. But he declined. And then they got Clive Owen, but once again, he declined as well. So they brought in Michael Keaton. And for Dr. Norton, they actually spoke to Ed Norton, Sean Penn, Rebecca Hall, Jack Lewis, let's see, Edward Norton, Sean Penn, for Novak and Jack Lewis. God, they were gonna give Sean Penn work? Jesus Christ. And I mean, guys, you know, I don't know, I'm not gonna get into it, but he did kind of get famous for beating the shit out of Madonna all the time, so I never understand why people hire him.
People do that.
Yeah. You know. So yeah, at one point they were actually talking about a sequel to this, but that they stopped talking about it in 2015.
Well, that wasn't a quick turnaround at all.
Yeah, so obviously that's not going to happen. But at one point they were talking about a sequel to this, which I'm glad is not going to happen. And but yeah, no, I hate this film. I absolutely despise this film so fucking much.
My whole big feeling on it is that, like, again, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I hate that expression, but you know, for lack of a better term, the actors did everything they could based on what they were given, and they had an A-list team. They had everything except for good direction and a good script. You know, everything outside of that was good. You know, that we can say what we will about, you know, post and the making of the shoot and all of that, but all of that is all dependent upon the actors' responses and how they were directed, because chances are that suit was not always put on while they were actually on set.
Yeah.
You know, I much prefer the original. I am very happy to see that, like Charles and I, there are other and bigger named actors who can make the best out of a really shitty script, and shitty direction, which we both endured. And that's how I feel about it. I mean, like, should it have been made? Absolutely not. But I understand the appeal. I just wish it would stop happening. And there's nothing I think that can be done to stop shitty remakes from happening.
What's really interesting was originally they were going to get Darren Aronofsky for the remake. But his schedule didn't work or whatever. So they got Joel Padilla, and he just completely threw out the Aronofsky script.
Well, that's a shame. Also, Charles, my AirPods are at 0%. Just a heads up.
Okay. Well, then where can people find you, Chelsea?
People can find me at Chelsea.LeSage on Instagram. And where can they find you, Charles?
They can find me at charles.d.lincoln, and you can find us together
at CL Square Productions
on YouTube,
Facebook,
and Instagram.
Twitter? No, I'm just saying that.
No, and Instagram, yeah. Well, there's no more Twitter anymore. Now it's X, because Elon Musk is
ridiculous.
Fucking anyway. So, speaking of dumbass CEOs, so
all my stuff is dying. I just got internet for the first time today, so forgive me. We'll be back next week.
Yes, we will be back next week, and because it's October, we're going to go for the 1970 something or other classic that I didn't look up the number, Halloween, directed by John Carpenter. So stay tuned for that.
Oh wow! Okay, cool, great.
Yeah. All right, everybody.
Beautiful.
We'll talk to you soon.
We love you all.
All right. Bye.
We'll talk to you soon. Bye.